Good morning. Al Ingalls here at pressure-free.com. That's E-L-L-E, Ingalls. Welcome. I do this a lot. And if you stay tuned today, you're going to see why. And one of the tips that I have for you today. Today is day 7 of the June deep dive, where I've taken 7 days, started last Saturday, going all the way to today, on a deeper dive of some of the issues and problems people experience with stress, really clearing up what anxiety is. We talked about sleep, we talked about anxiousness, really some great topics. So if you've missed this series, go ahead down through my feed and you can catch it. Today, what we're going to do is something that I share in talks, in speeches, in the first beginnings with my clients, and I wanted to give it to you right up front here. So I'm going to bring slides out today just to have you have some visuals and have you really key in on ways to begin using this pressure-free method. So let's just deep dive right away here. I'm going to share my screen. And for those of you who are new, I'm going to actually introduce myself with my slides here because I have a kind of a funny way I do it. So if you're new, welcome. I'm that crazy stress coach. I help you improve your performance with less stress and burnout by using this pressure-free method I created in 2010. And people like to pronounce my name all kinds of ways, like Ellie. It's not Ellie, it's just one syllable, L. And you can remember Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. Well, this is white hair. I'm illegally blonde. So that's how you can remember me. Also, my last name is Ingalls, like Little House in the Prairie or Little House in the Big Woods, Laura Ingalls Wilder. So that's how you spell Ingalls, because people like to spell it all kinds of ways. And the reason I introduce myself like this is because people forget names very quickly. Have you forgotten people's names? We've talked about that this week, how you'll be in a social situation and meet someone and forget their name. I was giving a speech once. I was a breakout session after the big lunchtime session with the keynote speaker. And the keynote was a friend of mine. He gave a great talk. He had a couple of slides, and his name was really big on the slides. He was introduced and he mentioned his own name a few times during his talk. And yet when we went into breakout and I was connecting something my friend had said on stage in the big room into our smaller room, I paused for a moment. I said, do you remember the name of the speaker you just heard? There's like, I don't know, 200 people in my room. None of them remembered. So we forget very easily because of fight or flight. You start to remember so much more when you've broken that stress cycle. So I want you to remember my name. And if you don't remember L. Ingalls, you might remember Illegally Blonde, Little House on the Prairie. So that's a way you can remember me. We're going to talk about what stress really does to you, the ABCs of fight or flight, and I'm going to share the method right up front here with you in a short, punchy little session here just to get you started. Here's some questions to think about. What would your life be different? How would your life be different if you had less stress, anger, or anxiety? What would you be able to accomplish if you were getting a real night's sleep? What would your relationships be like if you didn't have behaviors that sabotage them all the time? What would your mental health be like if you weren't feeling so anxious and stressed? And maybe you get angry too. And then what would your physical health be like? Do you have any chronic conditions going on? Do you have an autoimmune disease? Do you have some gut issues? Do you have allergies? The stress hormones play a role in all of those. Then what does stress do to you? Where do you feel tension? A lot of people point right here, shoulders up in here. And the reason I go like this a lot, I'm actually flapping my wings just like a bird to get blood flow, open up this whole area here. And when especially if I'm working at the computer a lot, all of a sudden I'll just go out like this, about 45 degrees, and just flap my wings. So if you start to feel tension up in here, just start flapping your wings. Well, it's kind of funny, but who cares? If you can release some of this tension and get some blood flow going in there, it will be very helpful. Some people feel the tension in their gut. Some feel it in their toes, in their hands. Their hands are tight. They're squeezing and actually like indenting into their palm. Some people, it's their jaw. So where do you feel tension? What do you feel emotionally when you're stressed? Do you feel a lack of focus? Do you feel hopeless? Like what are the words that you would use to describe like how you feel when you're stressed? Are you afraid? What hurts or feels strange? So some people will say, oh my gosh, my stomach feels so nauseous. I just feel so weird in my gut. Some people feel it here, like a chest tightening, or you feel your heart pounding in your chest. So what hurts or feels strange? Some people get instant tension headaches. So your brain hurts. How do you behave? We're going to get into that in a moment here. And then what do others say about you when you're stressed? I was working with a woman and she said that she gets this a lot. People say, you're so hormonal. I don't think there's a worse word you could use to say to a woman, actually. If you said it to a man, that'd be pretty nasty too. But that is not something that you want either someone to say to you or people are saying behind your back. You know, like what are people saying behind your back about your behavior because you're so stressed? Are they worried about you? I've had clients who said, my family and my physician, they're so worried about me. If I don't get control of this blood pressure, if I don't take care of myself, they're just so worried about me. I know they're talking about me behind my back. So what are people saying about you, either to you or behind your back because of your stress? Here's a rather complicated but kind of funny little, if you look at the guy, you'll see that it's funny. My husband created this graphic. So, you know, we've got you normally, your heartbeat's going great, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, fight or flight happens, which means that something caused you to feel that you needed to protect yourself from a physical attack. Probably isn't a physical attack. It's probably just something going on in your normal day. But we're so overreactive, particularly in this society today. We've become extremely overreactive to these small things. So your amygdala in your brain, this whole little mechanism, tells your heart rate to charge up so you can release adrenaline from your adrenal glands. These little glands in the center by your kidneys, they're going to release a flood of hormones right into the bloodstream. It like seeps right into the bloodstream. It's very cool. My medical illustrator daughter-in-law is going to create a very cool graphic about this. So right into the bloodstream, instantly, you're going to have effects in your body so that you can fight or run away. However, all these side effects happen, and these are two lists of side effects. First is in the catecholamine phase, or the adrenaline stage. You've released all this adrenaline, but it's actually a cocktail. I like to say you're now under the influence, and you're under the influence for a long time, unfortunately. So your brain is not going to work so well. We actually shut down our cortex and our hippocampus somewhat. We're in our croc brain. We're in our reptile brain. We're reacting. So that's why you can't remember people's names. That's why you might not test well, even like your driver's test or adults taking tests as well. Financial advisors taking tests will tell me I just freak out on the tests. So now you can't think very well. You're not lodging memory correctly. And it's rather corrupt, and you might not even remember a lot of things because of fight or flight. You can't make good decisions and your willpower is shut down. You may experience dry eye. I was just working with a team of 9 executives, and one of them said, yeah, I get my eyes get so dry. Your mouth might get dry and you might have mouth sores. That's because saliva shuts off. Your saliva ducts and your tear ducts both shut off in fight or flight. So if you have a lot of mouth issues, canker sores, things like that, it definitely could be because of stress and because of releasing these hormones. Blushing or pallor. So you might feel your face turn really red, or you even feel like you're going to faint because a lot of blood is going to rush through and pull fat and glucose out of your brain cells and your extremities. That's why this all shuts down, so that you have a massive amount of energy to fight or run away. So we're dehydrating our brain and we're wicking fat and glucose from our hands, so your hands might get cold or sweaty. Your hearing changes, your vision changes. Some people say it feels like there's blinders or things are blurry. People have told you something and you can't even remember it. So hearing changes and eyesight changes. You might be very uncoordinated, trembling. It's so cool when I help student athletes gain more control over their physicality by not triggering the stress response. Your body can work so much better when you're not in fight or flight, when you haven't released these hormones. You might sweat a lot, your palms, your underarms, your brow, like everybody sweats in different ways. This is a funny one, but it's not so funny if it happens to you. Your bladder and sphincter muscles are going to relax, so you may have to go to the bathroom right away. So if you've ever given a speech or having to talk in a meeting or whatever, and you go to the bathroom, but like 20 minutes later, you have to go again, that's because you've triggered fight or flight. So normally you can go 3-4 hours between having to urinate. That's normal. If you're having to go a lot, it's a sign that you've triggered fight or flight. Your digestion is going to slow down or stop. Your reproduction and your libido is going to drop. Your ability to conceive is going to be affected by these stress hormones. So most people know about the adrenaline phase because you can actually kind of feel it. You're kind of hyped up on adrenaline, kind of feel powerful, by the way. I was a little bit addicted to it prior to 2010 and prior to I learned all of these side effects and what it actually does to you. There's another thing on here like stress acne, eczema. I had all of that. So your skin will definitely reflect your stress too. If you have like dry fingers and cuticles and bad nails, like it's just because there are no nutrients going out there. Your digestive system slow down or stop. You're not getting the nutrients you need out to your brain or out to your extremities. Glucocorticoids come next. So after, and everyone is individual and in these floods of hormones and then the timing of everything, it's so individualized by your makeup and also by your circumstances. But at some point, your brain and body are going to say, okay, the threat is gone. I need to fix these brain cells and extremities. So glucocorticoids go out from the cortex of the adrenal gland, just go right into the bloodstream again, to specifically go out to these cells and get the salt, sugar, and water content back to normal. So you're powered back up. Fat can transport and you're powered back up. Your brain needs a lot of fats. So unfortunately, that's the good news about glucocorticoids. The not so good news are all these side effects. You can have some very negative thoughts when cortisol goes out. Cortisol is your wake-up drug, so you might have trouble sleeping, but it also can make you feel anxious for no reason. This is very powerful to know. So if you back up and you don't trigger the first flood of hormones, then when you get to the second flood, those are the timing, like the second flood is not going to go out. So about half of your anxiety is solely biological. And you're so caught in that stress response day after day after day that you never quite feel out of it. So if you have general anxiety disorder, if you are experiencing a great deal of anxiety, like day after day, you wake up not feeling very good, a lot of it is just due to the fact that these hormones go out. Brain neuron damage, a lot of brain neuron damage with both floods here. Fat in the arteries, fat in the abdomen. So you're going to grow stress fat in the abdomen. Also, this little place right between your shoulder blades that they call it the dowager's hump. If it gets really bad, it's called Cushing's disease, but that is caused by an over release of glucocorticoids. Will build the fat right in there. Cortisol actually expands fat cells, makes them bigger for you, because if you have gone into fight or flight, if you go back millennia, you might not have been able to get to food. So these fat stores are very purposeful to help you get food. By the way, if you're a marathoner, triathlon runner, one of those, if you are an athlete and you notice you've got these little bands of fat in your upper torso, that's because your body is going to build fat there, in case you can't get to food. So that's why sometimes you'll hear about, I remember Jim Fixx, who created Runner's World, died of a heart attack. Runners dying of heart attacks. You think they should be so healthy, but if they're triggering fight or flight, they're actually building stress fat in their arteries and in this area of their body. So that's really important to know. You need to find the sweet spot of your athletic heart rate. You need to not trigger fight or flight and be anxious about your races or competitions, whatever you do, because all of that is going to impact your performance and your health. Blood sugar imbalance. So with both of these floods of hormones, you're dropping a bunch of glucose into the bloodstream. The first flood is actually pulling it out of cells. So you're bringing glucose into the bloodstream that way. And the second flood is actually dumping some glucose into it. So that's important to know, because it's if you have metabolic syndrome, if you have diabetes, every time you drop sugar into your bloodstream, your pancreas has to work. You need insulin. So that can be really impactful. Your thyroid's going to slow down or be, I like to use the word sabotage. Stress hormones sabotage the thyroid. Like if you have cold hands and feet, you'll probably be told you have a thyroid issue. Let's go deeper. The next level down is that you have a stress hormone release issue. And we can work on that. We can fix that very quickly. Lowered immunity, slowed healing, muscle and bone loss. Slowed healing is huge. And of course, our immune system. Our immune system gets rocked with both floods of hormones in different ways. It takes me a while to explain all that, but it's really fascinating. So there's so many more side effects. These are the main ones I've pulled out for you. Basically, all chronic mental and physical disease is either directly caused by these stress hormones or made worse by them. So whatever conditions you might have, these floods of hormones are nasty, and they really do affect you. So again, your stress response is your body's natural defense mechanism to muster energy to escape an attack. That's why we have it. But now we're overreacting. So how do you overreact? Most of us are not under attack, and saber-toothed tigers are extinct. We have become really good at overreacting to people and situations. And you're not alone. These are 2018 stats. I don't have the 2020 or 2021 ones. I can't wait to, well, I don't want to see them actually. Which is probably why I keep this here. Anxiety disorders in 2018 affected 40 million adults, about a fifth of the population. These are the people that, despite the mental health stigma still today, actually got diagnosed. A whole lot of people that do not want to get into the mental health system for a variety of reasons. So there's so many people that are not diagnosed. And then anxiety disorders affect a quarter of children between the ages of 13 and 18 in 2018. So I'm sure those stats are going to be extremely high now, unfortunately. But here's the deal, we can do something about it. And the pressure-free method is one of the fastest ways that you can regain control of your life, that you can actually do something about it. This method that I've created, it doesn't just help you de-stress and break the stress cycle, it helps you craft your life. It helps you become so much more productive and improve your job performance. It helps you stay healthier, calmer, and happier. And it really develops an empowerment from deep inside you that you feel you truly can succeed, that you feel you really can take on whatever challenges are coming your way and not release these stress hormones. That is the key. So we're going to start with some ABCs here in this training. And if you're taking notes, grab your pen, grab your pencil, and grab a piece of paper or your journal, whatever you're writing with and writing on. And I want you to look at this list, because these are the affects, the emotions that can trigger fight or flight. Anytime you feel angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, anytime you argue, and anytime you feel ashamed. So when you look at this list, I want you to write down the one that pops out right away as, oh yeah, that's me. And then maybe you have a second or dairy one, maybe a third one too. But what are the top three here for you? What is some behavior you do pretty much every day? What are some, or rather, feelings that you experience every day? When I learned everything that I came to create my method back in 2010, I learned some key things. I actually cried because I thought, at least once a day I would feel annoyed or anxious or angry or one of these emotions, right? At least once a day. And so I've been in fight or flight pretty much my whole life, maybe since age 2, I'm not even sure. But this starts in utero, so maybe never until 2010. So just grab your top ones here, and then we're going to get into the behaviors. So what happens, and there's one missing here, I need to add, it's binging, by the way. We start exhibiting these behaviors when we go into fight or flight. You might get the B word. Some corporations, I can't use it, so I'm careful. Snippy, impatient. Are you impatient? Both men and women get very impatient. So that B word applies to both genders. You might even be really bossy or bully people. I did. I'm looking back and wow, there's times I just wish I could rewind, rewind and take back some of the crap that I said and some of the ways of behavior that were not really serving my purpose and what I was trying to achieve. You might get really blaming. You might finger point. Well, it's his fault I don't have my degree finished. It's the kid's fault that I didn't get to this thing on time. You'll finger point because we want to justify and rationalize what's happening to us in fight or flight. We feel very vulnerable. You might feel broken. I mentioned this the other day, like people will actually say to me, Elle, I feel like my brain is broken. I have no focus. I'm so fatigued. Like something's got to give. And that can be a real scary realization. And I'm here to help. Honestly, don't let yourself feel broken another day. Burnt out, exhausted, you're just done. You get to the end of your day and you're just burnt out. You don't even have the energy to be with your family, do anything fun because you're so exhausted. That's mostly mental exhaustion that's going down. And of course, binging. So if you're binging wine, weed, food, chocolate, comfort food, or maybe you can't eat, so you're binging Netflix, or I went through a little binging of Netflix. If I catch a really great story, I love, I actually am a fiction writer on the side, like I'm working on my fiction, and so I love stories, and I'm working on screenplays for Ingalls Pictures, so I can get really sucked into a story pretty fast. I have to watch that. So what's your binging behavior? Maybe you shop, maybe you spend money. So we all tend to have a little something that's like our go-to when we're stressed. So what are yours? What behaviors do you exhibit or have that you're like, wow, I really wish I didn't do that so much? Get real clean. Acknowledgement sets you free. What is it that you wish you didn't do so much? Now, the C's are things my clients, when I survey my clients, especially when I was first starting out, I'm like, what do you feel now? And here's their words. I feel calmer. I feel confident. I feel so much more courageous. Like I can take on challenges that before I was just sticking my head in the sand. Committed, and then congruent. So congruent means the inside and outside is matching, and you're no longer in imposter syndrome. You're not trying to be someone you're not. We're getting pulled in so many directions to be who we aren't. And so when you can be really congruent, it feels great. You're really in sync with what you're doing in the world, and you're not trying to fake it till you make it anymore. It's real. You actually have the energy and you have the brain power to do what you want to do. So that congruency is a really cool thing. These create success for you. Decide to learn this. So you came on this short time with me here. I'm going to encourage you to do this whole course. If you haven't gone through Pressure Free yet, at least the introductory course with me, the introductory coaching, then let's get together and do it. Just get off the fence. It's prickly on the fence. And you're worth it to come in and learn this with me, or come to my retreat. I still have 3 spots for my retreat. If you're catching this live or in the first few days that I'm doing it, come and have a pressure-free experience so that you can really start to dig in. It takes some determination to live pressure-free, but I help you with that. I step right beside you every step of the way, because basically it becomes a daily discipline. It's your lifestyle. People will say that to me, that they're like, I love this lifestyle. I love living pressure free. Even I just was on a call with someone who was with me back in 2010, 11. Like when I first started, she has lived pressure free for this entire decade. I mean, it's just incredible to talk to somebody I worked with years ago who's just, she doesn't even have to think about it, just how you begin to live. And that's because you deserve a fulfilling life. I could spend a whole hour just talking about the word deserve, but we don't have that much time, so we're going to move on. And we're going to get to the E's. Like the C words, these are words my clients have used to describe how they feel now. Energized, exhilarated. That was my son Hugh's word. I just feel so calm and exhilarated every morning. Empowered, enlightened, enthusiastic. And lately I was working with a young man and he said, I just feel extraordinary when I use these tools and I don't trigger the stress response. I feel extraordinary. So these are some words. This is what I want you to feel every single day. This is the operating system I want you to have, where you wake up with energy, ready to take on the day. So fight or flight. I'm sure you've heard of fight or flight before. There's a few more F words. Fight, you might get aggressive. Flee, you want to run away. You might freeze, though, in situations, and you feel so stuck and unable to make decisions. You feel very stuck. So fight or flight will cause you to not be able to make decisions. It's not your fault. The hormones have shut this down. So that's why you can feel so frozen in place and like days go by and you haven't solved any of your problems. You just feel stuck. Fib. So I learned fib from one of my clients who is very active in the ADD, ADHD community. And she said, yeah, people will make up little lies to cover their butts. I've done it before. Like, project is due and you'll say, oh, it's almost done, but you haven't even started. You know you can get it done in time. But God forbid someone find out how you're secretly working, right? Or not working. So you'll make up a little lie to protect yourself. It's not huge, but it is a little. Fawn. I learned this from my friend who is involved in working with childhood trauma. And she said people will, they will over flatter to belong. And it usually happens because at some point when we were little, we wanted to belong in a group and we weren't let in. Or we were kind of on the sidelines of it. And so we over flatter, was like, oh, I love your sweater. Oh my gosh, I love your hairdo. We just overdo it because we want to be connected. We want to be belong. So what F's are operating for you? What's your go-to F? If you're brave enough, you'll put it in the comments. If you're brave enough. Fight, flight, freeze, fib, fawn. Mine changes depending on the situation. If it has anything to do with my kids, I'm a fighter. I tend to freeze. I do some freezing for sure. So everyone is a little different. The G words, goal setting. So in pressure free, again, we don't just break the stress cycle. You get to craft your life. You get to design it. That's very fun. And for some of my clients, the life design and goal setting tools are the ones that break them free of the stress response. Generous to yourself and to others. You're now going to have your eyes opened. You're going to see, just after that chart I showed you earlier, you're going to see fight or flight in others. You're going to see them turn red. You're going to see them get a little jittery. They'll hold out their hand, it's trembling a little bit, or they're clicking the pen. You got a pen clicker in a meeting, they've triggered fight or flight, or they're jiggling their leg. I want you to be generous now to yourself and to others, because you didn't know this before and they don't know it. People say to me, Elle, everybody needs to learn this in middle school. You get much better grades, achieve so much more, and feel so much happier. But we've had these patterns for decades, years for some people, decades for others. So I want you to be gentle with yourself. It's a process to break these, which is why I created my private coaching, so I can stand beside you and help you untangle it, because you got blind spots. You're not going to be able to see many of the things that are triggering you. But once we get working together, it gets wide open for how you can actually start to transform, because your brain can change. You can change it very quickly. So to kickstart your success, these are what I call the H's. And I learned a lot of this from my personal body coach, Leela Veronica. Highly recommend you work with her if you haven't worked with her yet. She will transform you out of pain. I had back pain, hip pain, foot pain, and all of that is gone. I can jump up and down. I have such a better life. So I learned a lot of this from her, and I want to share it with you. So the first is your heart space. So get this area from your shoulders down into your ribs really wide. Okay, just go super wide with your body. Take up space. It's like you're giving your heart the space it really needs to work well. We hold our bodies really tightly. You might realize it right now, like, wow, I just opened up. I didn't realize just how tightly I was holding my body. So go super wide. It can feel vulnerable because you just opened up your heart space. And if you're in sales or business, if you're trying to make friends, if you're trying to connect to people, when you go wide, this is now open. You opened up your heart. Let's take it another level and relax your abs. And now the whole front of your body is open for connection. It's pretty cool. It's very helpful. Next are hamstrings. So trust me here, sit up a little bit and grab your butt and pull the muscles back. So you're sitting on your femur bones or your leg bones. You're not supposed to sit on your butt. I know that sounds funny. But if you had a tail and you were sitting on your butt, your tail would be tucked. And when a dog tucks its tail, what does that mean? They're afraid. So when you're sitting on your butt, you're literally like telling yourself to be afraid. You're afraid. You're afraid of something. You're protecting. We coil up to protect. So by going wide and getting on your femur bones, on your hamstrings, sit here, get your butt up here, that's totally transformative. I just was coaching this the other day, and one woman was just like, she couldn't believe how different she felt. So don't sit on your butt anymore. Like in your car, adjust your seat so that you're not sitting on your butt anymore. You might have to change things around. You might have to change some chairs in your house so that you're not on your butt, you're more on your hamstrings. Your butt muscles propel you forward and they support your lower back. That got rid of my back and hip pain very quickly in a matter of weeks when I started doing this. Now your head. We're on our little phones, our little magic boxes all the time. And well, looks like, it looks like I have messed up my schedule and I've gone over. I'm continuing to move on here though. So we have a few more things I want to share with you, and then we'll go into the Zoom room. When your head is up and you're looking out at the horizon, two things happen. First of all, your neck curve gets in a much better shape. So now you've got blood flow, nerve flow going well from your brain to the rest of your body. Secondly, it's like you're looking out and gaining a bigger perspective. And we've gone into very small worlds, especially since 2020. So it's like very cool. So how are you showing up? That's important. Now, 3 steps of the method. I've been mentioning these 3 steps all week. Targets, triggers, tools. Targets. What are you aiming for? Why is this important to you? So if you say, I want to lose 4 pounds so that, or you say, I want to gain control of my stress so that, what are your targets? They usually fall into 3 categories: performance targets, health reasons, improved relationships. I want to lower my stress so that I don't have stress fat. I want to lower my stress so that I don't have headaches anymore. I want to lower my stress so I gain a promotion at work and earn more money. I want to lower my stress so that I am a much better parent or much better spouse or much better friend. So what are your targets? Again, it could be salary, promotions, knowledge, skills, pursuits for performance. Less illness, fastest healing, better sleep, more energy, better athletic performance, less chronic disease, better skin. That was my big deal with my hands. Relationship targets, better friendships, less loneliness, fewer misunderstandings, improved work environments, closer to family. So identify 1 to 3 targets that are really important for you. Why do you want to get a handle on your stress or your anxiety? What could be different for you? And then start painting that picture really big. Go deep on your why. By the way, here's a bonus secret. It takes males up to 9 hours. And I say up to 9 hours because it really just depends on you personally and how much of these stress hormones you've released to clear stress hormones out of your cells and you're back to normal. If you're a female, it takes up to 24 hours for that cycle to take place. That's why we need to break the cycle, because undoubtedly you'll trigger again and again and again in your day. So you're never out of the stress cycle. You need to break it. The only way to stop it is to stop stress from messing with you. And that's to stop the stress cycle. Pressure Free shows you very quickly how. So step 2, once you have your targets, and you're like, for me, that 24-hour deal is huge. Why would I ever want to mess up my cells, my body's processes for up to 24 hours? Why would I ever want to do that? I don't. I make the choice. I put my stake in the ground and say, I don't. So your what? What makes you feel these emotions? Angry or annoyed, anxious or ashamed, afraid, argumentative, those A emotions we talked about. So when do you tend to overreact? Could be a timing thing, like every morning or every night before you go to bed. What or who makes you overreact? What makes you feel annoyed or angry? What do you worry about? What keeps you up at night? Who or what makes you feel anxious? And what are you ashamed of? Also, what do you argue about? I look at this couple and I think, okay, they've had this argument. So in a few hours, he's going to be fine, but she's still going to be in the argument biologically. Just why there's this huge gender difference and why there's so much misunderstanding in a lot of relationships. Your how-to, the 10-second solution. So from a resting heart rate, you've got 10 seconds to do something to interrupt the stress response. And all these little free talks I give you lots of different tools. My tools fall into 3 types: body tools, mind tools, life design tools. And basically what I do in my courses, I teach you many different ways to interrupt the stress response. So we can untangle what those triggers are, come up with some tools to figure out what tools are going to help you in your specific situations, so we can truly break the stress response, so that you can start to actually live the way you were intended to live. The only time you need to trigger fight or flight is if you're under physical attack. And for most of us, that is not happening very often. So this is so powerful and so incredible. I'm going to share the slides right now. And that just gives you a little background into why this is so important and how impactful this can be, how much this can change for you. So I hope you'll take a really good look at it and basically reach out to me. Just private message me, DM me on LinkedIn, send a message to me that you want to know more, you're interested, or you can simply go to speakwithL.com, book a time with me. Let's really dive in. And I need to again share that my big project right now is not to just coach people privately, but to empower people to be coaching pressure free. So my certification program, the next class of it is going to start in July, mid-July. And I have 8 spots open right now for you to come in and learn this method, master this method, and be able to coach it to others. So if you're an educator, you're in healthcare, you're a coach, you're a leader in your business, learning this method deeply and in community as well. The Pressure Free Certification program has components that we have a group session once a month, but then you get 2 private sessions with me. So it really is like private coaching, but we're adding that group component. And it's just so impactful. My passion is to share this around the globe with as many people as I can while I'm still walking on this planet. So that's why I created the certification program, is to get other people teaching pressure free as well. Hopefully every school will soon have pressure free. So if you know someone in the schools, please send them to me. Let's get them in this program so that they can start creating pressure-free in their schools, in their hospitals, in their corporations, in really every institution can benefit from people being more mentally well. So have a great pressure-free day, and I will see you soon.